Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Last week, we reported the closure of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility that has been located at the Bristol County House of Correction since 2017. We heard last week from Bristol County Sheriff Tom Hodgson. Now we're going to hear the other side of the story. I'm pleased to be joined by Rafael Pizarro from the Bristol County for Correctional Justice. Rafael, how are you? Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You know, your organization, I believe since 2016, has been working to, protect the rights of those immigrants within our region and within our country. Talk about, I guess, just your general reaction to the closing of the facility last week.
Well, we're delighted. We've been working towards this, and others have been working with us towards this for quite some time. Well, ever since it opened. We agree with the federal judge, Judge Thomas, who opined that there's no reason why people should be held in federal prison for the civil violation of being in the country without documentation. So we didn't think they should be in there in the first place. That's our general belief. But then, you have a particularly bad sheriff who's going to make them suffer even more than they need to. And we think the community of Bristol County is opposed to that kind of thing, and we certainly are, and so we took action.
Last year, the sheriff was in the news related to an incident just about a year ago where there was an uprising in the detention facility involving many of the detainees there. There were lawsuits that were filed. There have been lawsuits right along in terms of how your organization feels the sheriff has handled things there. Is this just sort of like justice, if you will, in terms of all those incidents coming to a head, and that the federal government now realizing that there have been some issues at the Bristol County House of Correction?
I would say that it's the beginning of some justice. The people who were hurt inside the ICE facility on May 1st of last year, they're not going to be able to get their, that back. Their, the suffering that they went through, they can't get back. But we can make it so that others don't have to go through what they did. And yes, this is a great first step from the Biden administration to begin to deal with this problem. And we hope it's only a first step.
Sheriff Hodgson last week said that even though the facility has been closed, he's going to be fighting on in what he feels is his right to bring the awareness to those undocumented here in Bristol County and in Massachusetts. He says he's still going to, where he can, inform officials at ICE of the potential of those undocumented here. Tell us a little bit about how your organization has continued to fight the efforts in general in terms of making sure that those undocumented here face some sort of resistance and some sort of protection against these types of moves.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we argue again and again is that the sheriff should do his job. And dealing with undocumented people is a federal responsibility. He is a county official. And we are very much in support of county officials doing their county work. But in addition to spending so much time down at the southern border with his comrades down there, going to Washington, D.C. when Trump was in office to meet with his folks there, in addition to going away and doing that and having nothing to do with the job he does here, then he wants to chase down people who live in our community who are not documented. So we keep pointing out that this is just not his job, and we'd like for him to do his job.
Right. So I guess what's going to be next for the organization, the sheriff on Friday said that, as I mentioned, he's going to keep pursuing, his interests in this field. But, he's thinking that potentially the facility could come back based on a change in administration. We may not see that for another few years. So I guess what's next for the group?
Well, I need to be clear that I'll tell you what's next for the group, but there are many groups who are fighting on behalf of people who have been detained. And including right here in New Bedford and Bristol County. So they're not going to stop fighting for the rights of immigrants. and we're going to, stand beside them. But our organization is focused on criminal justice in the jails, and so we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to advocate for the folks who are in the non-ICE facility at the Ash Street Jail and in Dartmouth. They suffer from conditions very similar to those who were in the ICE facility. It's the same sheriff. He has the same attitude. And in fact, it was his attitude towards the folks in the non-ICE facility that brought him to our attention. So we're going to continue to advocate on their behalf.
All right, Rafael Pizarro from the Bristol County for Correction Justice. I appreciate your time. All the best moving forward, and we'll hopefully talk again soon. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I look forward to that.